Welcome, everybody, to the LinkedIn for B2B Growth Show. I'm your host, Michelle J. Raymond, and today we are going to be talking about how do you go from posts to podiums? Are you looking to use LinkedIn to get more speaking opportunities? If the answer is yes, I've invited the best person in the world that I know that can help you get there. So, Bobby Umar, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Michelle. Happy to be here.
It is exciting and it's a little bit overdue. And I did confess to you before the show that this was one that was sparked by an idea that I had that I wanted to share with people how I went from posting on LinkedIn to being able to get to speak on stages like Social Media Marketing World, which is coming up soon. And then I thought, why do this by myself? Why not get Bobby in and have this conversation? So it's a little overdue, but I appreciate you making it. But I'm going to start with a question, Bobby. Why do you think LinkedIn's the place to be for speakers, either those that are experienced or those that are just getting started? Why does LinkedIn need to be a piece of the puzzle?
LinkedIn is the biggest professional networking platform in the world. And when it comes to speaking, that's part of my professional brand out there, but it's also a big part of it comes through networking. So having done 1,000 keynotes across the world over the last 20 years, across 4 continents, you have to build it up through the people. And so LinkedIn is a great place for that. And I can tell you that a lot of my speaking gigs have come from people that I've met on this platform or have seen me. They've seen my content, they've seen my brand. And for sure, where else would you want to build something?
I think, originally met via Clubhouse. Correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty
Yeah,
sure it was
yeah,
Clubhouse. And
yeah.
then we come across to LinkedIn, and you've got the Thought Leadership Branding Club, which I'll put all the details of that into the show notes. So if people want to check it out, I highly encourage them to do so. But you also work with people to land TEDx talks. Can you tell me a little bit about that before I ask you a few more LinkedIn specific questions?
Yeah. So before the pandemic, I was helping people, having spoken, helping people get speaking gigs. So I did a paid speaking kind of program. And then the pandemic happened, everything fell apart. And then as we started coming back out of it, putting in things like storytelling about leadership, which were my main focus during the Clubhouse and pandemic days, I started thinking, let me start doing paid speaking at TEDx talks. But then people really liked the TEDx piece. They felt TEDx were transformative. And I started to see, you know what, TEDx can be a great vehicle for building a personal brand, building a thought leadership, getting more paid speaking, charging higher fees for your business. So I was like, you know what, let me go all in. So now this year in 2024, I'm fully into helping people land a TEDx talk, which of course can lead to paid speaking stuff. It's not like I don't help them with that, but the TEDx thing is the flagship that I'm helping them with. And it's a lot of fun to do. And I even guarantee it with my methodologies. And I love it. It fits everything I have. Storytelling, public speaking, thought leadership, personal branding, all in one thing. Yeah, count me in.
It is bang, both barrels. You have got that one. And that's the thing that I want to talk about because there is so many different ways that public speaking shows up. It could be from as basic as creating content to being on these stages like TEDx, like you said. And I've got to say, my business mentor said to me a couple of years back, Michelle, have you ever considered becoming a speaker or a keynote speaker? And I just looked at her with this blank stare and thought, you have got to be joking. Why would I ever want to be on a stage? Why would I ever want to do this? And why would anyone want me? Is where I was not that long ago. I'll give you the handy tip. And then fast forward, and now I've got two opportunities to be an international speaker this year, which again is mind blowing. For me, I think it started with originally guesting on somebody else's podcast. That's where it all started, being invited to come and speak on my topic, which, as you know,
Right.
is company pages. And then I'm so grateful for my time on Clubhouse, especially the rooms that we ran together with our friend Brenda. But I'm so grateful because I got to practice articulating things and knowing what I stood for and what I didn't stand for. So it's just been so much fun to realize lots of little actions over time have added up to get me to where I am now. Much more confident, I have to say, in my place on these stages. And it's going to be another challenge for me to go from presenting online to presenting face to face in that kind of bigger scenario.
One thing I'll add to is that as we become seasoned professionals, we become more accustomed to sharing our knowledge, sharing expertise, sharing stories about our experiences, wins and failures, all that kind of stuff. And as we get quite seasoned and as executives, as leaders, it's just natural for us to actually become speakers. I think all of us can actually become a speaker and put our knowledge out there on panels and in keynotes and all around the world. So I think that this is something that you're finding out and we all should be doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what advice would you give to people who are either speakers or want to be speakers about updating their LinkedIn profile to get more speaking opportunities? How can they use it as a tool to get there?
I think the first thing I would say is that make sure you're really clear on what kind of speaker you are, what brand, what is your personal brand, what's your brand story as a speaker, what are you focusing on? Because that just like starting your own LinkedIn profile strategy, what exactly is your target audience, your objective, who you're trying to be? So that's the first thing. Then once you have that, now we can put together a profile that features you exactly as, okay, here's what I do. I speak about, networking. I speak about personal brand. I speak about thought leadership. Be really clear on what your brand is. Then you optimize your profile. So the first part is optimize your profile to make it look like you're a speaker and you speak and you make that really clear. You have video footage of you, you have images on your banner of this is me speaking on stage. And then the second piece again is creating a content strategy around that. Put videos up there, talk about your expertise, let people know. And then the third piece, of course, is outreach. Reaching out to people, building relationships, networking with folks, finding what events are out there, finding who's organizing events, and then letting people know, like, hey, listen, this is what I do for a living, this is what I speak about. And those relationships will also help you get there. So to me, it's like the profile, it's the content, it's the outreach as a speaker. And one of the things I'll say too is that when I first started as a speaker, I was always pitching myself as I'm a speaker, but eventually I started pitching myself more as an expert in a certain area. So when I'd say, look, because then what happens is if I'm an expert in TEDx talks or personal branding or networking, then I also have a book, I have a program, I do coaching, I also speak and do keynotes and workshops. So that became where I focused as opposed to just being a speaker. Cause you see tons of profiles that say, I'm a speaker. Oh, are you? Okay, great. Like half of them are not. Let's be real about it. It doesn't mean that just because I spoke once at the Rotary Club or just because I spoke at my kids' high school or just because I do a couple of videos, I'm a speaker. No, professional paid speaker is a different thing. And make sure you're really clear on that so that people can see you and they realize that you are a speaker and they want to hire you.
This is something that I'm about to go through that shift. So, the things that you spoke about, having an image somewhere on the profile, whether it's in your banner, maybe the featured section,
Yeah.
having images of you speaking, that is something that I need to work on. And that's what I can't wait to get to social media marketing world and take those photos because making that transition for me, and I think I'm going to take your advice that you just shared and say, I'm not just a speaker because there's a million speakers, but there's only one of me. And there's
Right.
really only one person that specializes, in my case, on talking about LinkedIn company pages. And I think if I just move to say I'm a speaker, as opposed to I'm an expert on this and can speak on these kinds of things, it really distinguishes the two. But I think there's other areas for me. I was a bit reluctant at first to say I was a speaker as much as I have my own podcast, I have two of them. I have my own YouTube channel.
Do you speak on those, Michelle?
Yeah, I know, right?
Okay.
This
So
this is the
good.
craziness of it. I was almost waiting for that permission to come from somebody else or for someone else to anoint me as a speaker. And we spoke about that on our LinkedIn Live recently on thought leadership. And so it's another step for me to grow. That's what's going on for me right now. I feel like it's this year in 2024, it's time to level up again. But going back to looking back, it's just all these little things. I wasn't prepared to put it on my LinkedIn profile. Now I share my 50 guest podcast episodes that I've done, or maybe a little bit more than that now. And there's lots of different ways that you can incorporate that, but and build up that social proof, which I think is important because Bobby, I see it too many times. People on LinkedIn, they're underselling how awesome they are, and their LinkedIn
Yeah.
profiles often don't reflect it. So that's why I wanted to bring that one up right at the beginning. But a question for you: what types of content do you think speakers should be focusing on when they're creating on LinkedIn?
I think that there's probably two main types you want to focus on as a speaker. Number one is showing you speaking on stage. Hey, this is me in Dallas or Atlanta or San Diego. And you take people on the journey of the prep, being there, meeting people, the speech itself, the afterwards, the testimonials, all that. So talk about the brand of you being a speaker is one thing that you want to talk about. The second piece is talk about your expertise. And ideally, you do it in video format for the most part, but showing yourself talking about the things you care about. So I would be talking about TEDx talks and personal branding and thought leadership and networking. That's what I want to be hired as a speaker. And so you have to be putting yourself out there all the time, saying, this is what I talk about, this is what I believe in. Take a stand for things, like get opinionated, be willing to share an opinion that may not be something everyone agrees with, but taking a stand on something definitely helps you stand out as a speaker because one of the things about hiring speakers is they look at people who have a little bit of pizzazz, personality, people who want to stand for something, people who have a message for the world. I think that goes a long way. So I would say those three things are the most important pieces.
Being known for that one thing is something that our mutual friend Michelle Griffin used to say to me when I first started out on LinkedIn and we became friends. And company pages was my thing. And at the time, I was like, why is no one else talking about this? And then, I got a lot of pushback. You're a little bit crazy. But then over time, it's become the thing that made me different to everybody else.
Yeah.
And being able to stand up for that and call out things that I don't agree with again was something took me a little bit of time, but as I built that confidence, I was like, no, I know my stuff. This is where I'm at. So I'm so glad you called that out because if I think about what kind of speaker I want a speaker that's going to challenge me personally. I want a speaker that's going to teach me something new, help me to grow in whatever way that is. It doesn't always have to be contrarian, but I just think if someone helps me expand how I think about a topic, then that for me is what's going to make a really great speaker. What else do you think makes a great speaker?
There's lots of things you can do, but I think for me personally, this is what I do to try to be a great speaker. Number one, storytelling. So always be working on your ability to tell stories from every aspect of your life, the wins, the failures, all the stuff. Be willing to be vulnerable. For me, being able to do that and tell those stories from every walk of my life, I have a large collection of stories that I use all the time. And I think that is what separates me from other speakers. The second thing I do is I try to relate, I try to be accessible to people. One of the things I don't like about speakers are ones who they just seem too cool on stage and they don't make themselves accessible. So what I do is I go in before the speech and I intermingle with people. Hey, how's it going? Whatever. I often refer to them in my talk while I'm on stage. And then when I'm done, I don't whisk away in my helicopter. I stay, I talk to people, I hang out with people, I answer the questions. And I think the organizers like that too. They like people like that. I'm also using my social media profile to use my influence and I'm promoting, I'm doing stories and videos and I'm sharing this content. Organizers love that kind of stuff. Oh, here's a guy who's going to come on stage, is going to be accessible to my attendees and going to promote my event everywhere. They love that. So one is about supporting the organization. The other one is about making sure you're supporting the attendees that are there. And to me, make myself accessible, creating really deep, powerful stories that resonate. I think those are things that really make a big difference. And then the last thing I'll say is constantly work on honing your craft to get better as a speaker. I certainly have pitched myself as a world-class speaker and that's my brand. And however, I've had to change certain things like adding dynamics. Like, for example, the virtual thing to the pandemic, I had to do all the virtual tricks. And now when I go on stage, I'll actually have polls. I'll do an interactive poll because the technology is there and people like that kind of stuff. So you have to evolve as a speaker and get better and better.
Absolutely. Now, one of the places I think you can get better if we're thinking about LinkedIn and the types of content you could do is LinkedIn audio rooms because you can
Sure.
lead a conversation, be involved in a conversation. And when you're getting questions fired back at you and you have to answer on the spot, that for me was my favorite part of Clubhouse. That was the learning how to think on my feet and answer it and be seen as that position of authority. Can you tell me, like LinkedIn audio rooms? I know you host like quite a few. Can you tell people why they should be considering them if they want to be a speaker?
Yeah. So what's interesting is that a lot of people would think that because I'm a speaker, I should be doing more live streams. The truth is, I host two audio rooms per week on Tuesday and on Thursday, and I host another Twitter Space audio room on Mondays on Twitter. And I only do one live stream a month. So it's like, why do so few live streams? The reason is because, first off, speaking audio versus speaking on stage, it's very similar to the same thing. My personality shows up in the audio rooms as well. It's a little bit different. Sometimes when I'm on the audio room, they're like, Bobby, you're so chill. Just so today we're going to talk about personal branding as opposed to, all right, personal branding. Let's do this. Cool. Like it's a little bit different on stage, but you're still honing your articulation, your diction, your communication, your active listening, all that kind of stuff. The reason why audio rooms are so great is because there's something about audio rooms that makes it far more connective as a speaker, but also as an expert, which I said, you have to relate the speaker-ness to the expertise-ness as well. So they have to go together. So you go in an audio room and I'm talking about personal branding and people go on stage and we're talking to each other. We're having a really deep conversation. I find the authentic, audible voice really is a great way to deepen the connection. Because at the end of the day, as a speaker, you want people to know and trust you and value what you bring to the table. So they're going to hire you as a speaker. So I find audio rooms are powerful for that, for creating that, deepening that connection. Whereas a live stream, it's us pushing out to many. There's less interaction. I mean, yeah, there's comments, but an audio room, you come up on stage and you're basically all sitting on a sofa or around a table talking to each other, hearing each other out. That is fantastic. I found far greater connection in one audio room than I have in maybe even 10 videos that I've put out. So for me, audio is the place to build that trust, build that connection, and people keep coming back. They'll remember you, and they're going to hire you for those speaking gigs. So I'm a big believer in the audio rooms for sure.
I was on the fence about audio rooms. They're not something that I incorporate as part of my own content preparations or content schedule. It is something that I was doing the trifecta talks with Michelle Griffin and Brenda Meller. And then I found I actually missed the camera. And so this is the interesting part about this is I think you should try all the different kinds of content that LinkedIn gives us, whether it's short form video clips that you update, whether it's YouTube videos that you want to bring across, whether it is, I don't know, something fun that you created for TikTok style videos, LinkedIn audio rooms. We have so many different ways that speakers can use this. But do you think as a speaker, there is showing you as a speaker, but you've mentioned things like thought leadership and storytelling. I think I see speakers as doing that as well, backing it up with written options. Do you recommend that for your clients that you're working with?
Yeah. So when it comes to thought leadership, that comes in many forms. So yeah, you can do a series of videos. You can also write articles and newsletters and all this kind of stuff. So thought leadership pieces, think pieces where you're sharing ideas and you're pushing the conversation, pushing the envelope. It's going to come in all types of forms. And I think that one of the reasons why every single person who is a speaker, and I put speaking under the brand of thought leadership. If you want to become a thought leader, do speaking. But that speaking also includes your message out there in all types of formats because you don't know what's going to resonate with who. Every single type of thing, my newsletter, my audio room, my TikTok type videos, and my longer form videos, they all have different people who like it in different ways. A really good example is the written piece. So when I do a newsletter or let's say I do a white paper, I did a white paper recently, personal branding. People who are, let's say, quieter read that thing and they still want to hire me, not knowing about my bombastic personality. And they're okay with that because I adjust for that. And that's okay. It attracts them in a certain way. Other people are attracted to my personality on the TikTok style video and they hire me for that. So I think it's really important for any person that wants to build their speaker expertise and become an authority in their field to have all different forms of content that will actually set them apart. So I'm really big on all of them, although you must have video content because, yeah, if you're a speaker, that's what they want to see. They want to see how you are in video for sure, because that's the closest to being live. But having the diverse ones are far better.
If I was to think about this, I was just thinking before when you mentioned white paper, my eyes lit up. I love to read and learn. So I'd be like straight there. But then if I just did that, then all of my fabulous podcast listeners who are listening to this or watching it over on YouTube would miss out because I'd
Right.
just be doing things my way. So I think it's a really important point that you note that everybody learns different. Everybody's attracted to different styles of content at different times. It might change. Some days I might not have time to read a white paper, but I can give you 30 seconds for your short clip of videos. So this is what I want to kind of say to people, explore the different kinds of content that are out there too. Sometimes it's really nice to expand your thoughts and write long, or at least I find it that way. And other times I'm like, you know what? I've got so many things going on. I've just got to get something done and I make it much shorter. So I think mixing it up, mixing up the styles is definitely great advice. When we started speaking earlier, you mentioned about networking as being part of what you think speakers should be using LinkedIn for. How can speakers use LinkedIn to discover speaking opportunities and maybe other collaborations?
The first easiest thing to do is to actually target hashtags and target people. There are certain people out there, for example, event planners who are putting events out there all the time. So you start to see what's out there, what people are organizing. And so you start commenting on them and engaging them and having that conversation. There's other people who do posts on LinkedIn, but also other platforms too. They'll use hashtags. They'll have conference, event, things like that. And when you find them, you'll find people actually who post about these events on LinkedIn and you start talking to them and start engaging. Hey, this is really interesting. Tell me more about this event. And I think that works really well to start getting people's attention. So you can find people who are organizers or event specialists, but also people who are posting about it, whether they spoke at the event or they attended the event or they're actually organized the event. People will share this content on LinkedIn and other platforms, and you can leverage that by engaging them in a really positive way while sharing expertise and starting a conversation, which then lead to potential opportunities.
Absolutely. I agree with all of that. And I think that's been one of the things I haven't proactively been doing that because speaking isn't my main focus. But that's the way that I have been able to guest on so many different podcasts. For people that want that to start off with, it's an easy way to just use the search bar or have a look around in the news feed and see what pops up and get involved in those conversations. I don't think speaking gigs go to people who sit on the sidelines and hide in the grandstands while everyone else is playing the game. So it's time to get out and about. You also mentioned something about in the lead up to events, as you're getting ready, speaking at the event, and after the event, and sharing content around that. Can you speak to that a little bit more about the types of things that you do? And does that get speakers invited more places?
Yeah, because it's not just about that one post, but doing multiple posts. For example, when I arrive and let's say I'm staying at a hotel, I'm here at the hotel, guys, and I'm about to speak tomorrow or later today. Really grateful for them for bringing me in here today. It's going to be an awesome show. And that's one post. Then, okay, a post of photos of me on stage. Here's what I talked about. It was really amazing. So much thanks to the organizers. And then later on, I'm at the networking event, guys. This is really great. The buzz, the energy, this is so great. I got my phone. The buzz energy is so great, guys. And who's here with me? And all that stuff and doing it multiple times and telling like Instagram stories and all the LinkedIn posts I'll do over several days. People love that. And then the other thing I'll do is I'll actually post about it in reflection. Oh man, I remember that thing I did a month ago. Here's a video that I forgot to share, right? Purposely forgot to share. And this is really great. And they like that because they're like, oh, maybe we'll bring Bobby back because he's just so positive on our event and he's really promoting us because they love it. They love it when you promote their event. But if you do it multiple times with multiple pieces of content, you're also taking people to the journey of sharing the behind the scenes. Sometimes I even share, I'm prepping, like I'm prepping my speech. Here's a snapshot of what I'm doing. Again, it's a great way to take people on the journey with you so that they're more likely to engage with you.
I think that's the thing as I begin to get closer to heading over to the US to speak. That's what I need to start doing now because I'm super excited. That I can guarantee you. I know that my audience is excited for me. And I think you can feel that excitement when you put that kind of genuine content out there and being authentic and saying, maybe I'm nervous, maybe I'm excited, maybe I'm everywhere in between, depending on the day that you ask me. But ultimately, I think that there is such a massive opportunity for speakers to be seen, be heard, get opportunities if they're just active on the platform and working towards that goal.
Let me add one more thing too, which is if you're an international speaker or if you're traveling, sharing the sites of where you're traveling to is really helpful. For example, I've been to like Dubai and Tunisia and India, and I'm sharing the sites of where I'm at. People love that. People love the travel stuff. It's really powerful. So sharing those moments too, like I'm here at this really cool place, that goes a long way too. For international travel, like sharing that stuff, sharing that adventure, that sense of adventure, that feeling of FOMO, people love that too. And they love good stories. They love being happy for you. I'm happy for you and I'm going to celebrate being happy for you. And I can't wait to see the journey. So share that, celebrate it. And all of us are rooting for you big time.
Thank you. I'm going to take that one personally because I am super excited. And I'm also, it depends on the moment, not going to lie, there's parts of me that freak out and think, not because the room's going to be full, but in my mind, I'm like, what if no one comes? Which is just crazy. But just to keep it real for people out there, I'm a human just like everybody else, but I intend to show up and bring it and deliver every piece of value that I've got. But Bobby, every single show, I ask my amazing experts for one last actionable tips. What would you like to leave today for speakers who might be contemplating whether LinkedIn's the right place for them or not?
So, my one last tip I would like to tell people about it. I think every person, particularly wants to be a speaker, you should put together a 3-minute personal branded life story. And what that means is it's usually between 3 to 5 minutes long, but you're basically sharing your story, your brand, a little bit of your life, and what your purpose is as a person, as a leader, and as a speaker. And you put that in a 3 to 5 minute video and you put that on LinkedIn. And it's there in my featured section. It's called Everyone Has a Story, Purpose, and Legacy. And that's my story for the world. I recorded a few years ago, but I think everyone should do that. It's such a great tool that can actually lead to speaking gigs. It can lead to people being inspired by your message and knowing exactly who you are, what you do, and getting clients. But most importantly, it can also lead to getting a TED Talk because the snippet you put for 3 to 5 minutes to me can be a keynote, it can be a TED Talk, it can be something that attracts audiences. And if you have that, put that on LinkedIn, put it in the featured section, and make sure it's fantastic and well produced.
That is amazing advice. Now, Bobby, Umar, I am going to put all of your contact details into the show notes. I encourage all of the listeners to come across to your profile. Top right hand corner underneath the banner is a bell. You are going to want to ring that so that you don't miss Bobby's content, especially if it is you that is trying to get a TEDx talk. There is no one better that can help you. So, Bobby, thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you for everything that you've shared. Thank you, as always, for being a massive supporter of mine. I appreciate you more than I probably let you know. I should do a better job of that. But this is my shout out to the whole community that, Bobby, you're the real deal. You are such a cheerleader for everybody else's success. And I appreciate you. And I just want you to know that while I've got you here.
Thank you, Michelle. I appreciate that. Speakers, we're all in a competition. We're cooperative and it's competitive, but it's cooperative. I think that's a really important piece.
Yeah, absolutely. And you are the shining star for that. So thank you. Until next week, listeners. Cheers.